What is going on, people? LP2000 right back at you with another figure review. As a matter of fact, this is going to be a re-up figure review. And as you can see by this beautiful, gigantic burning monstrosity, obviously I'm doing the X Plus Gigantic Series Burning Godzilla, or Godzilla 1995, or KingGoji. And there's a couple reasons why I'm doing this video now. Or this re-up, I should say. Well, first and foremost, the fact that in a couple weeks from now, at the time of this recording, this what, June, I think 19th? Yeah, June 19th, 2016. In 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now at the most, we're gonna get the newest addition to the X Plus Gigantic series, the 1962 from the KingGoji from King Kong versus Godzilla. And in honor of that special occasion, and the fact that I've not done a re-up of this figure before. I've done one of the GMK Gigantic, but I haven't done one for this guy. And this is quite arguably my favorite figure as far as X Plus in my collection. So I got to sit down and talk about it. So because of those two special reasons is why I'm doing a re-up today. So you know how we do things around here. Let's get into the box before we get into the figure. So let's put Burning Godzilla down here. Let's get into the box. Hopefully it'll be in the frame because I'm doing a different camera angle. Now as you can see, this is the box, the massive box, which is kind of like what you're gonna be in store for if you pre-ordered the newest Gigantic Series 62. Because that figure apparently is gonna be around the same size as the Burning Godzilla. So expect the box of this size when you anticipate it. When it comes to your door, expect a big, gigantic box, and with the silhouette of Godzilla on the front, X Plus Gigantic Series, Godzilla 1995, Godzilla's Destroyer. That's basically what it is. More likely, we're probably going to see the same type of artwork. Now, the last Gigantic, the G2000, it had more of a 30cm feel with the colorful artwork, the picture of Godzilla on the front, whatever. It wasn't like a black silhouette like this one, but since the newest one is gonna be around, like I said, the gigantic Burning Godzilla size, I kind of expect this type of artwork. So there you go, jargon on the back. And you know what? I'm not even going to try to throw this box because it's just too big, and I don't want to damage anything. So let's set it down carefully, like so. And let's get into the figure. Yes, this is a great figure. Great figure. I did a review for this figure a long time ago, around the time where I got married, and around 2014. So let me just have more of a discussion than a review. It's kind of a elongated backstory. So let me just dive head first into it. And ironically, this is my first Gigantic Series figure that I ever had. When they announced the Gigantic Series from X Plus, mind you, around the time, around late 2013, I was still kind of new to the game. I was still unfamiliar with all the monsters that X Plus had on its roster. But I'm more so into the bigger figures anyway. So I've always wanted like bigger size figures. Nothing against the 30cm figures from X Plus. They are extremely well detailed, sculpted really well. They're just the best, if not one of the best. But I wanted something bigger. I wanted something along the lines of something like this, you know, or like other model kits out there, like from Paradise, or just the bigger size Japanese monster kits that have big size kits of our favorite Japanese monsters. I wanted something bigger. Now, when they announced the X Plus Gigantic Series GMK, the first in the line, now mind you, it's big, but I didn't really appreciate how big it was. It's big and it's bulky and it's massive, but it's not as tall as this guy or other gigantic model kits. So I didn't get the Gigantic Series GMK, and I regretted it after me doing some research and after finding out that my wife loves that figure so much. So fast forward like a few months later, actually around the time that they made the Gigantic Series GMK, they released Mr. G. Akamoto, how you doing, sir, announced that he wanted to have the next Gigantic Series figure to be the Burning Godzilla. And when he said that, I was like, you know what, I'm on board. I said, I'm not gonna procrastinate. I'm gonna pre-order it. I'm gonna get it whenever it's announced. I'm there. I'm getting it. And around April 2014 or April or March, one of the two, they announced that it was coming out, and I was there. You know what I'm saying? And of course, this is the standard. I don't have the rip board. It has the awesome Oxygen Destroyer base with the imprint logo of the title of the film on it, which I would have got that, but I'm still impressed with the standard nonetheless. So I pre-order it, and it was originally going to be released of around June that year, and I thought it was going to be like a great Father's Day gift, you know, whatever. But I guess they ran into some production issues. They couldn't get the figures ready by that time. So they were finally released. And that's the thing. They released the Rip Boys first, and they released the standards like later on. And that was kind of like a bummer. Like I was happy to see my fellow collectors who pre-ordered the Rick get theirs. But they got their Ricks like around late July. The standards didn't really hit stateside till like September. So it was like a bummer to wait like a month. You know what I'm saying? But trust me, it was well worth the wait. You know what I'm saying? And when it's funny because my wife got hers first because her birthdays, our birthdays are like six days apart. So I got this for her as a birthday gift. And she turned around and got me this figure for my birthday 6 days later. So it was really fun time when we got this figure. And like I mentioned before, this is by far my favorite figure in my collection right now. The detail on this thing is amazing. It really is amazing. Besides the fact that it's massive, let's just take that out of the equation. I mean, for right now. But the overall detail on this thing is so incredible. The way they just captured the suit, the overall look of the Burning Godzilla suit with the orange patches, you know, with the translucent vinyl, you know, with the orange glow, you know, whatever. And if you can shine a light to it, it actually can give off some kind of like exuberance to make it seem like it is glowing, as well as his dorsal plates. His dorsal plates are made with the same material as with the patches on his body. And to me, and I know that the Gigantic series is known for having stylized sculpts, especially for the GMK. The Gigantic 2000, it's stylized, but it's based off of a maquette. It's based off of concept of what the Godzilla 2000 was going to look like. It's not suit accurate. But honestly, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, there's a debate on this, obviously. I think the Gigantic Burning Godzilla is more suit accurate than stylized. The only thing I think that's stylized on this figure is maybe his arms are maybe a little bit too short or too small. Because trust me, after I found out that I was going to get this figure back in 2014, and since then I have watched Godzilla vs. Destroyer numerous times. That's what I do. Whenever a new figure comes out, I look at the movie so I can just get amped up and excited about it. So obviously I've been watching King Kong vs. Godzilla a lot lately. But I watched Godzilla vs. Destroyer, and after watching it so many times, and after watching, actually I watch it with the figure at hand. So I don't see anything on this figure that's stylized. Like I mentioned, the arm maybe a little bit too small, but as far as everything else to me is on point. His thighs were thick. Now, maybe his toes are too sharp. I would say that. Maybe his toes are just a little bit too sharp. Hopefully it's in screen on screen now. But his toes may be too sharp. His toes are more rounded. Mind you, there were 4, you know, on each foot, but they were more rounded on the suit. They weren't sharp like this. So maybe that's stylized, and maybe his arms or whatever. But everything else on this figure, to me, in my opinion, I think is on point. The ferociousness of the face is great. The fangs are just popping. His tongue, it has more of a dark purplish, kind of like how the GMK Godzilla Gigantic, same color scheme on his mouth or whatever. His eyes are red with the orange, with the high yellow pupil. The overall color of his skin, typical Godzilla gray, charcoal gray. And like I mentioned before, with the translucent patches on his body as well as his dorsal plates, you know, with the orange and with a little bit of reds, mixed in there, whatever. This is really great. Now they came out with a 25 centimeter Burning Godzilla to coincide with the 25 centimeter Destroyer that came out last year, and it looks good, but it doesn't look as detailed. Good. It doesn't look as good as this. You know what I mean? And obviously, bigger proportions, a lot more detail can be put into these things, maybe. But something about the 25 centimeter, it looks okay, but it doesn't look nowhere near as awesome and captivating as this. And excuse me. But yes, the overall look of the figure is very good. Very intimidating. You know what I'm saying? It just exemplifies what the Gigantic series is all about. And by far, that is my favorite line of X Plus, the Gigantic series. And they come so too far in between, you know what I'm saying? They're not like 30s or 25s where you get, a mixture of both on a regular basis. Whenever a Gigantic series figure comes out, it's kind of like a monumental thing, you know what I'm saying? To me, it's like, oh my God, the Gigantic series. And that's the thing. The Gigantic Series GMK came out late 2013. This was announced like 4 or 5 months later, at least 4 months later. Then it didn't get released until like 10 months later. The Gigantic Series G2000 didn't come to like a year and a half after that. And now after that, I think when was KingGoji announced? I think KingGoji was announced. I think it's March or April this year. I think so. I think March. So basically 6 months, yeah, because the Gigantic 2000 came out late September last year. So basically 6 months from that point, we got the announcement that the KingGoji was coming. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm sorry. Let me back a little bit. They initially announced the 1954 as a Gigantic in February. So we thought that was going to be the next Gigantic, but then they switched gears and chose the more popular KingGoji as a Gigantic. And I'm sure it made a lot of folks happy, you know what I'm saying? Either way, I'm fine with either Gigantic series figure, either way, 54, 62. But a part of me wants the 62 a little bit more. But with that being said, apparently we're going to be getting a reissue of the Gigantic GMK in a more darker scheme with blue dorsal plates, more of traditional Godzilla colors. And hopefully we might get a 1954 Gigantic. Hopefully they'll still bring that to us at some point this year at some point. But yes, we're getting 2 Gigantic series figures this year. So, and I know a lot of people are just, the space to house these things is just incredible. You know what I'm saying? Yes, these things are really big. Especially his tail. His tail is just so big. His tail alone is bigger than like most 30 centimeter figures. But you know what I'm saying? These are well worth the investment. If you don't have the space, I can understand that. You know what I'm saying? Because these things are big, as well as whatever else you may have in your collection. But these things are well worth the investment. You know what I'm saying? And mind you, when I first got this thing, now mind you, we had 2 in the house, like I mentioned before. My wife got me one, and I got her one. The stench that this thing has or had, oh my God. You talk about vinyl off the chain. Oh my God. How makes fresh vinyl, the stuff that makes, Rich E so crazy and all the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? What's up, man? Just the overall stench. It was like a good stench. You know what I mean? It wasn't like stinking like that, but it's like, woof. It's like when you walk in the room, that's the first thing that hits you. You know what I'm saying? More likely, the 62 Gigantic in a couple weeks is going to be along those same lines, so be prepared for that. But I have to say that after all this time, it's going on 2 years now. After all this time, this thing still holds up. You know what I mean? It's like some figures, when you get them, sometimes you may lose. I mean, of course you care for them. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, they don't have the same or same, I guess, attraction, or they don't have the same, effect on you over time once you have it. But I have to say, with this figure still, I still feel the same way that day when I got it. The day that I saw my wife be so excited, you know what I'm saying? It's just funny on how I gave it to her. Let me tell you a quick story how I gave it to her. Mind you, I bought it and I stored it up here in my man cave. Trying to hide something this big is not easy. Let me just get it out right now. But I think it was a Sunday morning. She left. She went to go to the store or something like that. So I rushed upstairs. Now the store is not that far from here, so I knew she was not gonna be gone that long. So I ran upstairs, unboxed this thing. Now, mind you, this thing is encased in styrofoam. So I had to get it out, whatever. So I brought it back to the bedroom. I put the covers over it. Not really a smart idea, because as soon as my wife walked into the bedroom, it's like this big mountain of covers, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, babe, there's something here for you. And she opened it up, or she pulled back the covers and saw it, and she went crazy, and she loved it. So that was a sweet memory for me. And when I finally got mine a week later, I did the exact same thing. So, but like I mentioned, this thing still holds up after so much time. It's like the go-to piece. It's like we got one downstairs, and we got one upstairs. But it's like that's the one figure. I mean, of course, I love all my figures. You know what I'm saying? But this is the one figure that I always keep my eyes on. It always commands your attention. It's an attention getter. Even in this room with so much stuff around it, this is like the go-to piece. You know what I'm saying? It just commands your attention. And that's a testament of how, amazing X Plus is. And to be perfectly honest with you, 1995 Godzilla was never really a favorite of mine, suit-wise. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I enjoy the Heisei suits. I love more so the 91, you know what I'm saying? And 92 to a certain degree. But the 95 was never really up there for me, personally. But when this figure came out, X Plus really changed my mind, you know what I'm saying? And I think that speaks a lot to how cool and great the X Plus is. The fact that they made this figure, even though it's based off a kid, still the fact that they put their spin on it, and they were able to produce these things and get them out to the masses, I think is really, really great. And the fact that it holds up so well, even to this day, it's just a testament how cool X Plus is, and it's why I'm just a loyal and avid X Plus supporter. But yes, this is a great figure. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you can find one, whatever. Hopefully, they won't be charging like $3 grand for one. You know who you are. If you're doing that, oh my God, yeah, you're charging $3 grand for this, but then you're going to tack on $250 for shipping. There go those eBay rapists out there. But this thing is really, really, really great. It really, really is great. Maybe we could see a reissue of this at some point. Maybe. If not, then hey, stranger things have happened. Like I mentioned, we're getting a reissue of the Gigantic GMK this year. So it's not that with a different color scheme, mind you. So maybe we could get a different color scheme for this guy. They choose to reissue it, kind of like how I got my repainted Burning Godzilla. Yes, I bought 3. One for my wife, and I guess one for me, and then I bought another one to repaint it as the rebirth version of Godzilla, the last at the very end of Godzilla's Destroyer, that version of Godzilla, I repainted it. So hopefully maybe they can use that as an idea, you know what I'm saying, to bring, if they don't want to bring back this version of Godzilla, the Burning Godzilla, maybe they can bring back a rebirth version using this exact same sculpt with a different color scheme. But yeah, you know what? Let me just go ahead first into some other thoughts about Godzilla's Destroyer and stuff like that. Let me just bring in a custom-made Godzilla Jr. I have made to go with this Burning Godzilla. Hopefully they'll be in the frame here, whatever. Mark Sang Yang, hook him up, hook me up. Look him up on Facebook. Really, really awesome guy. You'll love it. But yes, this is a custom-made Godzilla Jr. He's like maybe 12, 13 inches tall. Because I wanted something to go along with the Burning Godzilla. And it's like Godzilla's Destroyer, one of the most emotional and most epic films, and probably most important films in the Godzilla franchise. I won't go a lot of detail into the story or into the film, because I did that with my 25cm Destroyer review. Check it out, it's in the archives. But I think about how this film, Godzilla's Destroyer, was going to be a different film. You know what I'm saying? Originally, it wasn't supposed to be this way. It originally was going to be Godzilla versus Ghost Godzilla, where the ghost of the original 1954 Godzilla would come back, his spirit would come back, and it would gradually materialize into a flesh and blood Godzilla, which would then do battle with the modern day Godzilla. But they didn't do it because, at that point with Godzilla's Mechagodzilla 1993 and Godzilla Space Godzilla, the producers felt that, based on research that I've done, the producers felt that Godzilla faced too many creatures that was versions of himself. So this would probably would have been overkill. But on the flip side, I think that would have been a very interesting concept. And apparently, I think Anguirus was going to play a part in the film. It's not known whether Little Godzilla or Godzilla Jr. was going to be a part of the film or whatever. But let's just say that they finally did decide to go with this film. Also, taking into effect that the reason why they killed Godzilla off and destroyed it anyway was to make room for the American Godzilla, 1998. And can you imagine if Toho was able to look into the future and see how that film really fared amongst the fan base? You got to believe that maybe they would have taken a different course. But let's just say they did go ahead and did Godzilla vs. Ghost Godzilla. And let me do some fantasy booking while I'm thinking about this. If it were me, now mind you, Godzilla vs. Destroyer always did have some great ties with the 54 film, even more so than the 84. You know what I'm saying? But they show footage of the original Godzilla dying. Plus, you had, I think her name is Momoko Kochi, the actress that was in the original Godzilla, the daughter of Dr. Yamane. I'm sorry if I am mispronouncing her name, but she's in the film too, in a way, kind of a cameo. But she's still in the film, basically to tie in with the first film. So basically, what I would do is, like, in the beginning of Godzilla vs. Destroyer, anyway, Miki Sagusa goes to Birth Island or Bass Island, depending on which version you watch, to check on Godzilla and Little Godzilla, kind of find out the island was destroyed. In my fantasy booking, what I would do is, Miki Sagusa would go to the island and check on Godzilla and Little Godzilla and finds out everything is fine. They're, they cohabitate on the island. They're just doing their thing. At this point, Godzilla's not really rampaging through cities and stuff like that. He's basically just on his island, doing his own thing. So, you can have Miki Sagusa go there. Then they discover Anguirus, whatever. And Anguirus and Godzilla, they do coexist on the island, whatever, and you see them all just interact with each other. Meanwhile, ships around the area of Japan are being mysteriously destroyed, kind of like how they were in the 54 film. And of course, it's the ghost of Godzilla 1954. But the way the destruction and the way the accidents happen, it basically leads the Japanese government to believe that Godzilla, the modern day Godzilla, is doing this. Mind you, when you see Godzilla, Godzilla is not in his burning form. He still looks the same way he looked in Godzilla for Space Godzilla. So the Japanese government surmised that, or at least they just come to conclusion that Godzilla, this modern day Godzilla, is the one that's causing all the destruction. Mind you, they go back to the island, whatever. The Japanese, I mean, we as the audience go back to the island just to see more of the interaction between Godzilla, Little Godzilla, and Anguirus. Godzilla and Little Godzilla basically just go away. They probably just go off into the ocean, just doing their own thing. We see Anguirus on the island alone. Eventually, the ghost Godzilla comes and materializes into, a flesh and blood Godzilla, and he goes looking for the modern day Godzilla. He's drawn to him, by the connection, and so he finds Anguirus and basically kills Anguirus. Mind you, the Japanese government has already made a decision that they're going to go and bomb Godzilla's island to get rid of him, since they under the impression that Godzilla is the one that's causing all this destruction that happened before he reaches Japan, before they think he will reach Japan and cause more destruction. So they go to the island and destroy the island while Godzilla and Little Godzilla is back on it. You know what I'm saying? Godzilla and Little Godzilla return, and then they find Anguirus' body. At the same time, the Japanese government just comes in, just bombs the whole island. You know what I'm saying? Just obliterates it, and basically causes that uranium fission thing that caused Godzilla in the final film Destroyer to turn to Burning Godzilla. Basically, they caused that, and you think that both Godzilla and Little Godzilla is dead at that point. However, meanwhile, back on the mainland, the 54 Godzilla comes back, and the Japanese government then concludes that it wasn't the modern day Godzilla that caused it. It was this version of Godzilla. So Godzilla is destroying Tokyo, whatever. Meanwhile, at the airport, Godzilla Jr. finally shows up. You know what I'm saying? At first, you see him as Little Godzilla, but then, after the accident with the bombing of the island and all that uranium got exposed, and they got exposed more radiation, stuff like that, Little Godzilla reappears as Godzilla Jr. And he goes to the airport, you know what I'm saying? Because he's lost, he's trying to find his way around. Eventually, the next time you see Godzilla is the Burning Godzilla. What happened to the island caused him. Basically, kind of wasn't in the final film. It happens here. So he goes to the airport, and basically like the same thing what happened in Destroyer. He sees Godzilla. They try to have kind of interaction. Then the new Godzilla, the 54 Godzilla, whatever you want to call it, finally comes, and he basically kills Godzilla. Oh, excuse me, he kills Godzilla Jr. right in front of Godzilla, kind of like how Destroyer did. Godzilla, the 54 Godzilla, the new 54 Godzilla, and this Godzilla do battle, and basically this Godzilla defeats the old Godzilla. Then he starts to melt down because of the radiation and stuff like that. But then which gradually reaches little Godzilla or Godzilla Jr. and then basically the movie ends the way it does in Godzilla's Destroyer. So that's how I would pitch it, whatever. I know it's kind of all over the place, but to try to incorporate all those things that they were going to do, I think it would have been a good story. That's just my opinion. But also, I also think about the fact that, with this Burning Godzilla, this probably is the finest performance that actor Kenpachiro Satsuma did during his tenure as the Heisei Godzilla. Mind you, Godzilla King Ghidorah is my favorite film in the franchise, but I think from a performance aspect, Godzilla Destroyer is probably his finest work. The fact that he's just, in his body movements, the way he moves in the suit, the way he acts as Godzilla, as just being in pain, and in the final film Destroyer, and then him trying to go over to breathe life into little Godzilla, and whatever, it's just, his performance is really, 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 really good. And I'm reminded how in an interview that KaijuCast did with him, KaijuCast, check it out. I think it's episode 118. They did an interview with Kenpachiro Satsuma, and even though he liked the film, he loved the film Godzilla Destroyer, he thought it would be more touching if after the events or whatever went down in the film, Godzilla basically goes away, he leaves Japan, he comes to an island, and he basically dies by himself, without the world seeing him. And I think that, that's kind of heartbreaking to even say. You know what I'm saying? But it could have been more touching or whatever. But I think the way they handled it in Godzilla Destroyer was really, really well done. Especially with, you see Junior finally coming back, and he's the new Godzilla, and it ends right there. It leads to an open ending where it's up in your mind, what you think would happen at that point. Did Godzilla Jr. go on to become a new Godzilla? I mean, does the franchise continue from there? Whatever. Even though they made the Millennium films, they really don't have anything to do with the Heisei films. So, but to me, I always go back to Godzilla Destroyer as the definitive final film. If that was the film that Godzilla was really supposed to be laid to rest, I always look to this film as that's the perfect way for Godzilla to go out. You know what I mean? And the fact that, they played, clips of his movies, of his adventures in the Heisei films, at the very end with his classic Godzilla theme playing in the background. I think that is really the best way to end Godzilla. Eventually, I think it may come to an end, but until then, I always look to this film as the definitive end of Godzilla. And it's like I can't help when I watch this film, because I love this film. It's my 10th favorite Godzilla film of all time. But when I watch this film, it's like I can't help it. I can't help the fact that when I watch it, even though I know what's going to happen at the very end, you know what I'm saying? I always, that point in the film where they surmise that Godzilla's going to melt down, or excuse me, they surmise that Godzilla's going to explode. But then when the Super X encounters him and they put that cadmium stuff inside him to try to control his radiation, they determined that Godzilla is no longer going to explode before they found out it was going to melt down. And it's at that point I thought that, I always think that they find a way to save him. But you know what I'm saying? Kind of like how that movie Creed that just came out, at the very end, where you hope that old boy wins, but he doesn't. I feel the same way with this film. I can't seem to shake that. Every time I watch that film, I always hope that they find a way to save him. But at the same time, they don't. And it's like, his death is just coming. It's just coming. It's just coming. But like I mentioned before, that's just great storytelling. You know what I'm saying? I know the Heisei films get a lot of heat for having lack of creativity and stuff like that, but they really made up for it. You know what I'm saying? Like I mentioned before, I'm not fond of Godzilla vs. Mothra, Mechagodzilla, and Space Godzilla. I mean, I enjoy them, but they're not up there as far as my favorites. But Godzilla vs. Destroyer really did rectify that. You know what I'm saying? The way they told that story, the way they told the story of the death of Godzilla, they really did it justice, and how his legacy would continue on at the very end. I think that is very, 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 very great. It's one of the best Godzilla films out there. So with that being said, that concludes my review of the X Plus Gigantic Series Burning Godzilla or KingGoji or Godzilla 1995 re-up. If you have any questions, holler me down in the comment section or hit me up on Facebook via Mark Calloway. We definitely go from there. Check out the Facebook groups about to mention: Toku Legion, Toho Kaja Union, the Godzilla Collects Facebook group, Toy Explosion, Japanese Toy and Figure Services, Sci-Fi Labyrinth, and of course the X Plus Collects Facebook group. S Plus Collectors Facebook group, and KaijuAddicts.com for all things X Plus. Once again, it's KaijuAddicts.com. And be mindful, we got a new one coming up. Number 4. Put them 4s up. Put them 4s up. Yes, the Gigantic Series Godzilla 1962 to give this guy some competition. Because right now, he is the biggest Godzilla figure in the entire X Plus roster. However, you may have some competition a few weeks from now. But you know what? You're still gonna be a favorite of mine. I'm sure he's a favorite of yours too if you got him. All right. That's pretty much it. So I thank y'all for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see y'all again on next figure and move review. All right. Y'all take it easy.